This is a photograph. Every time I see it, it makes me laugh.
Yes, but what is important is what is in that picture, Your Honor.
In this picture.
It doesn't take a genius to see what I mean. What I am proposing is marriage. Inside the guitar case was the Nickel Samurai, the hero's very own costume.
What?
Took you a while on that one.
Mr. Wright, explain yourself.
I will explain myself to your beard with eyes.
Thank you. Right, are you saying that the... Inspector, I'm trying to talk here. Right, are you saying that the witness opened the guitar case to take out a costume? What insane point would there be to do something like that?
That insane point would be to wear the costume, of course. Ms. Andrews put it on to hide her identity so she could make her escape. After all, you couldn't let anyone see you leave, could you, Miss Andrews?
I refuse to accept your theory. Do you have anything to support such a preposterous idea?
Just outside the door was an investigative photographer who was starving for a big scoop. And in the end, she managed to get this shot, correct?
You mean this photo?
Actually, no, I mean the guide map.
Oh, yes, I see. Order! Me some fish.
Why can't I do that?
Because I place the orders. It looks like we've wandered into quite another mess again, haven't we?
Nice job, Phoenix. Well, you know my strategy. Speak first, think later.
So the real murderer was hiding inside a costume.
You're a bit quiet.
Sorry. Wait 1 second, Your Honor. The Nickel Samurai's costume should have been Mr. Matt Ungard's. Why would something of the defendant's be in the victim's room? And inside the guitar case, of all places. True. That is a little baffling. Am I better now?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. And my God, if they're sexy. Oh, man. What was the Nickel Samurai costume doing inside the guitar case?
Mr. Ungard did not take his costume off during the break period. In that case, the costume we are talking about was a spare one.
Oh, shit. What? Then, are you saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gatewater Hotel? Dun dun dun.
Yes, that is what I am saying.
Dun 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 indeed. And how do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case with this squeaky toy? It would mean that the victim planned to bring the spare to the ceremony.
Glad you didn't say commentary.
But why? The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the German ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai's spare costume with him? What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? Wouldn't act like he won.
Ah, so that's what he intended.
What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue?
Huh? No, I just...
Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why can you not think in your own brain? Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai spare costume?
Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe in you. Alright, this is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was...
Well, this is what we got the proof for. What is this?
On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference.
A press conference?
Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference.
I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? Upright.
But what struck me as strange was that Mr. Ungard himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night.
Oh, but how can that be?
The way I see it, that can mean only one thing. The conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Kurita himself.
The victim?
Yes. The spare Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Kurita was going to hold the press conference as the Nickel Samurai.
Rebel! He was going to dress up as a nickel samurai and hold a conference. But why would the victim do such a thing?
That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I am concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference.
The nickel samurai was going to confess something. And by confess, I'd wager he was going to reveal something about himself.
Which means that Juan Kurita, posing as the nickel samurai, was going to speak about Matt Ungard.
Yes, I guess that is what that would mean. And if that's the case, that is not a confession. That is pure disclosure. That is public disclosure. Huh. Miss Andrews, you've been quiet for a while. I can see why you're pros at what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan. Well, thanks for clarifying. Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared for the second costume for him, that was also me. You! Juan had bet everything on the Jammin' Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway. He was going to ruin him, huh? It looked like somehow Juan had his hands on a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed.
What?
Matt's actually a robot. And do you know what this secret of Mr. Ungard's is, Miss Andrews?
He has no right eye, that's why his hair hangs there.
That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is. I see. I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone. But that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt after all.
Protect Mr. Ungard?
And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behavior. Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Protecting
Do your
Matt.
sexy witness dance. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder.
Except you were there.
My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. And now you're fucking him. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type.
We're finally seeing her true self. She is more nervous than a scared rabbit.
If there are no objections, I feel I can pass a verdict based on this testimony. Now then, Mr. Wright, if you would please...
Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this and turn her logic upside down. And her frown.
I can't let you do that, Wright.
Would you say that it was your intuition speaking to you?
Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. Boom, bitch. If you want to prove someone did something, you need 3 things.
3 things.
A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think these 3 things are enough, the answer becomes quite clear. Yes, I know she said think things through.
You should have already known that, Phoenix. They didn't teach that to us in school, at least not from what I remember.
The basics of lawyering. May I continue now?
Yeah, the basics of lawyering are also not whipping people. So would you say this need came from the press conference?
Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event in the hotel for the conference? Because that was when he could cause the most damage to the public's beloved Matt Ungard. And you knew of this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews? Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume. Why?
But I'm sure Mr. Ungard himself didn't know anything about a press conference.
Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference?
Son of a bitch.
I don't think we have this one.
Let me see if it even gives me an opportunity. Anyway, the important thing here is that this information was not in your testimony.
Yes, I agree. Miss Andrews, please correct your testimony if you please. Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright?
Press it, I guess. Has Mr. Ungard done something to hurt or betray you personally?
Why do you ask?
You were the one who helped Mr. Kurita with his press conference, and that event was supposed to bring down Mr. Ungard, yet you still helped out.
Person on trial right now is Mr. Ungard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill.
Why do I keep doing this to myself?
Why must I press everything? It's almost like someone is controlling me, pushing this press button over and over.
But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. Ungard was taking a nap in his room? Are you telling me now that that too was a lie so you could cover for Mr. Ungard?
I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him for the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, that I cannot say. I was too busy setting up the stage at the time. I keep trying, but I can find no flaws in what Miss Andrews has said. I can't say the same for some people here in this courtroom, however.
The judge is glaring straight at Mia. He's glaring at you, smart guy.
I don't like how she can read your mind.
You could hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage.
Then, what about the button?
The button?
It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and the murderer fought. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the gem in Ninja's costume. We're talking about this button, correct? That button was found in the pleats of Matt's kakahagada. Isn't that correct? I would think that makes it very decisive evidence. Looks like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright.
Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony.
I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat.
Thank goodness Mia can still look at me. With an icy stare, yes.
Again, I don't like that she can read your mind. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony.
And how did you know that?
When the ends of the threads on the button in the costume were matched up, they were found to fit together perfectly, or so I heard.
I've heard that before too. But why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail?
Don't look at me like that, just because I'm prepared and you are not.
I thought I had her this time for sure. If there's anything to trip her up on, it has to be here. Where and what? But what you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time.
I mean, he has a point. Who's to say she really stabbed the guy in the back, as you put it?
This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. Ungard at any time. Why, then, would she wait until there was a large audience before doing so? It's the same reason why Mr. Kurita planned such an elaborate conference. Miss Andrews wanted to cause Mr. Ungard as much damage as she possibly could. The witness bears ill will towards the defendant.
This isn't the Phoenix Wright Wax Philosophical Power Hour. Jesus, that's a wordy title. And please, stop slandering the witness.
As I expected, Miss Andrews' testimony seems pretty solid. Really, because to me it sounded a little wishy-washy. Wishy-washy? Well, I guess we'll see if I press a little more. You should know this by now, but you'll need strong, decisive evidence to make her talk.
We
Got
know.
it, Chief. I'm gonna pin you down this time, Miss Andrews.
Like a bug. Alright, so what we got? I don't know that we can really do anything to disprove that with this, because it pretty much just supports that statement.
They did say, though, that this was... he outright said that if there's something to trip her up on, it's right here, so...
I'm kind of curious about the whole fight thing, to be honest.
I want to say something like, no, that couldn't have happened because all he did was strangle him, but apparently there was a struggle, so...
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure about, but I don't have any way to prove that yet.
This was another thing we,
What?
This was another thing that we pressed, and she had to edit her testimony.
I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. That's wishy-washy, but I don't see what we're proving that she does have a way to show she's right, that she knows what his motive is.
I don't know.
Didn't have an alibi. Can't do anything about that. Button. What's next? I'm his manager, so I thought I'd protect him.
That's the end.
Oh.
I'm confused.
I guess it's the button one then.
Wait. I mean, maybe not. Here's the thing. Okay. The button has blood on it.
Okay.
But the only way blood could have gone on it if it was still there when he got stabbed, because he got stabbed right by that button.
And you don't bleed from getting strangled.
So...
That's good, that's good.
So I think it is supposed to be the button.
Okay. I agree.
This is totally going to be wrong. I'll take the penalty, but yeah, that's wrong. I'm just going to skip all this.
Rah, 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 rah. Huh. Rah, rah, rah. Boom.
I'll take my penalty, though. I'm going to make a save state now, though, just in case stuff...
Oh.
What?
What about the autopsy?
Maybe. Next thing I was going to try was the... was the photo, but...
I'm not sure. Man, I love this 50 Shades of Pink book.
Okay, so, okay. It's obviously not any, like, it's not, it's just straight up nothing on this page.
Yeah.
Not the guitar case.
Yep.
Not the wine glass.
Yep. It's
not going to be the 2 suicide reports.
Yep.
It obviously wasn't the button.
Yep.
It might be the knife.
Might be.
It might be the knife, the autopsy report, the crime photo. I don't think it was Lotta's photo.
Yeah. That knife's being used for a lot. That was not it.
I'm just going to undo that. I have no idea how long this is going to go for. Oh, the autopsy report was correct.
Boom!
Okay, sorry, but that was a bit of a leap of logic. At the very least, there was a lot of other evidence that could have said the same thing, unless it turns out he says something completely different, in which case it was unintuitive.
Yeah.
This is the victim's autopsy report, though still good on you for noticing that. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf.
Strangulation?
The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died.
And what does that mean?
Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off of the costume when?
After the knife was stabbed into the victim.
Exactly, which means it is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle. Because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. So it was like the evidence you suggested for the idea that I came up with, which didn't make sense because you think the button would have been better for that.
I mean, that's the direct supporting evidence, but you needed something that just kind of outright clearly stated what you were thinking.
That's right, Ms. Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off of the victim's already dead body.
Oh, Davis, shut up. What is the meaning of this right? A bit of Francisca there. So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change?
Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve?
What purpose?
We now know this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it?
Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with this button? What was it? I mean, it seems pretty clear to me.
There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Ungard. There is no way anyone would put a bloody button in their own pants. That's just funny sentence. That's
in
right.
Their own pants.
Mr. Ungard was set up in his own pants. By the real killer, of course, his pants.
Pants. I knew they were pants. Yes. And the real murderer is... Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer? That bitch right there.
Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. Ungard, is...
I mean, it seems fairly clear. It's that lady we're sitting right there saying she did it.
Miss Adrian Andrews.
Why did they need us to re-say this?
I choose you! You are Mr. Karina's killer.
Go, Adrian Andrews, the Zoomer reel. Order! Mr. Wright.
I'll have some veggies.
It's a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge?
Any evidence? All of the evidence points to Ms. Andrews. Hey, she has her glasses back.
Well, how preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me.
I can't, can I? Would you care to test me?
Then, what about this knife?
The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. Ungard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, so many glasses.
Then, I like this defending, the freaking witness being testing us. It's an interesting thing. It's like, well, I present this evidence, and now we get to shoot you down. It's like you're suddenly Edgeworth.
Yeah.
What about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama?
Thanks for saying it right. This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. Ungard was the real killer, there is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama.
In his pants.
The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Ungard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is you, yet again, Ms. Andrews.
Oh, I see. What about the empty guitar case?
That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Ms. Andrews.
Ooh, sexy.
Shut up. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was just such a costume inside the guitar case? It can only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Ms. Adrian Andrews.
No, it's so cold. But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere near to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. But that's right.
That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there is this photo. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. Ungard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not?
Please stop. I'm so turned on.
Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time.
Got her by the squeaker. Miss Andrews. She's about to break down, huh? I refuse to testify.
What was that?
There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Well, yes. You are absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. Law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination, by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves.
What?
How do you not know this?
Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot.
Damn her and her brain.
Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Ungard's room.
Adrian Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood? All right.
That's it. That's when Francisca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there is still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done.
What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What is so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up until this point is meaningless.
What?
Everything you have proven is circumstantial.
Circumstantial?
Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Corrida.
I mean, I could do that right now.
Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida? I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering.
So yes, got it.
But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think?
Yes, exactly.
Maybe so, or maybe not. There is nothing to prove in either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence.
No, she's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation.
I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with the solid definitive proof.
But that's not true!
In this situation, there is only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess.
Recess?
I request that both the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter, and at tomorrow's trial.
Tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then...
I assume that was Edgeworth again.
No, it was me.
Oh.
Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial.
What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he?
That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is.
Please.
Let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya...
Huh? but it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... Edgeworth. It's not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you? It's true that Miss Andrew holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation were something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there is one little thing I'm curious about. Miss Andrews. When you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and? I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually, when one finds a body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Testify? Your Honor, I would like to request the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness.
Unless she is the killer.
I
don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him.
Because he's trying to help us, but he's not making it easy.
Is he friend or foe? I just don't know.
He is rival. This court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please.
Holy crap. Okay, I still don't think it's only going to be one day, but my god, this trial section is long.
One day.
Whoosh. Boom, boom.